Absolutely.
Yeah, great to be talking to you. It's a great honor to be doing this interview. Wiederkehr is Heidevolk's new album, and it will be released on the 24th of February. What can
Yes.
your fans expect from this album?
Oh, you are going to be able to expect a with some very powerful and emotional songs this time. Some maybe a little bit more introspective than a lot of previous albums, but one where we could yeah, we were all very proud, and it's became very personal for the 12 of us.
Yeah, and it's been your first album in 5 years, so you
Yes.
had a lot of time to sink in you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, it wasn't supposed to be 5 years, to be honest. It was supposed to be more like 3 years or something like that. But 3 years became 5 years because
Yeah.
stuff happened in the world.
Yeah, last 5 years seems like 3 years to me, and to a
Oh
lot
yeah,
of people,
for
I
sure.
think. And
Absolutely.
that was the only reason why it took you so long to make this album.
Well, yeah, the plan was actually to we wanted this album to be written by all of us at the same time, like in the rehearsal room.
Mhm.
Previous albums were usually, written by Rowan mostly, and then we added our stuff later. But this time we decided that we wanted to write all the songs in the rehearsal room together as a group.
Yeah.
And the moment we started doing that, COVID hit. So yeah, we couldn't see each other in the place. We couldn't meet up. So yeah, that was kind of a challenge to be writing an album together while not being together.
Yeah, that can be hard.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. So yeah, that took us a little while to figure out how we were going to do that because we really wanted to stick to that idea of doing this collaboration, collaboratory. And I think we succeeded in the end. It's just, maybe it took more time than we would have liked to.
yeah, but the songs sound more mature, I think, maybe because of the time that you had more, but I think they sound more mature than in your previous albums. And so you wrote most of these songs during the pandemic, right?
Yes, some ideas were already cooking up before it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think you can say that the main body of the work is written during the pandemic. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you also, after the pandemic, you went on to studio and did as planned, or you didn't get to do that?
Well, actually, we went into the studio well during the last part of the pandemic. Uh,
Yeah.
fun fact: our drummer Kevin, he was in the studio. He was laying down his tracks, and at the end of it, he felt really tired, and we were just like, he is, tired from all the work that he did. Turned out he actually recorded the full album while having COVID, and we didn't know.
Yeah,
So
it's
yeah, that's yeah, he's a trooper for that. I mean, he's never the one to give up. He's never the one to, just let stuff
yeah.
hang. He's just going for it, and he did.
Yeah, and it should not be easy, with COVID and recording drums.
No, not at
That's
all. I
tough.
mean, it's very physical, of course,
Yeah.
and it's been a an intense recording process for all of us. We all wanted to go the extra mile and put
Hmm.
everything in it that we've got. So yeah, especially when you're feeling ill because of that, and not letting down. Well, props to him.
Yeah. Now, wederkeer, according to Google Translator, I hope I don't get this wrong, but wederkeer is the Dutch word for return or revive, right?
Yeah, yeah, indeed. It's got several meanings, and to return or to revive are, I think, the most graspable concepts of it. The beauty of the name is that it doesn't just say one thing. It's a
Yeah.
little bit multi-interpretable,
Mhm.
and that's exactly what was planned.
Yeah, and can we say that this album revives some of the things you did previously in your past, like return to your roots or something like that?
Uh, yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the album is about refining yourself. You know,
Hmm.
especially in a period that we just went through. We all had so much time to do a little bit of soul searching, and
Yeah.
think about who am I, who am I, what do I want to be, who I want to be, what's important to me, stuff like that. And in a way, it's a return to oneself
Hmm.
in between all the chaos that went on. So yeah,
Yeah, and
this is one explanation. The other one is, more like the return back to nature. You've probably seen the artwork by now. It's the man
yeah.
and the tree. The tree grows out of the man, and the man grows out of the tree. So there's this
Hmm.
kind of disconnection or
Yeah.
reconnection to nature that we were all always after.
Yeah, and now speaking of the artwork, I think it's an absolute masterpiece, like your previous albums were too. Can you tell us who was responsible for it and which guidelines you gave?
Yeah, yeah. Well, this artwork again is done by Avik Balayan. He has done a couple of albums for us before,
Mhm.
also the previous one, and he's usually our go-to guy for this kind of thing because he understands the music, he understands what we're trying to convey.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's the guy we usually go to first. He's just he's an amazing artist. He's an amazing painter,
Yeah.
and yeah,
And
we feed him some ideas, and then he comes up with stuff like this.
yeah, and how did you do it? Did like you send him the tracks and then he listened to the album and came up with a painting, or was it something like different?
Well, the tracks weren't even finished by then yet. We
Okay.
talked to him about the idea that we had,
Hmm.
using the runes as a kind of like a clothes hanger, that we used for all the songs,
Yeah.
and a bit about the concept of Veda care, return, rebirth, stuff like that, and that was basically all we gave him. So yeah,
Yeah.
it worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it did. And despite being an amazing artwork, I think it's probably not in a bad way, but I think it's probably the most brutal artwork that you've ever had.
Oh right, yeah. It's maybe a little less violent than, for instance, Vuur van Verzet, but
Yeah.
it's kind of raw. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, it
yeah,
is.
that's what I mean. Do you think
Yeah,
that also transmits to the music of this album?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it really matches the rawness of the material that's on there, and the purity of it. The body as portrayed in the picture, and the rawness of the tree. Yeah, it really complements what we did
Yeah,
in the album musically. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think so too. Uh,
Hmm.
Now, moving back to your song specifically, um, what does this album talk about lyrically?
Well, the idea of using runes as a clothes hanger actually brought us in various directions. We never planned the album to be like one story encompassing everything. We just said to each other, let's use the runes, the quality of the runes, and just think about what a specific rune means for you, um, and write something about the feelings, the connection that you have to that, and out
Yeah,
of
like a
that,
personal view.
yeah, absolutely. And the beauty of the runes again is that it can mean something else for for anyone else. It's
Yeah,
never the same thing. And out of it came an album full of songs that turned out to be mostly about personal growth,
mhm,
and like the soul searching I said earlier, return to oneself. But yeah, a lot of it is about um, personal growth,
yeah.
And actually, that came up after we written all the songs. We just put them all together, and then we found out, well, there is this kind of theme coming out of that, and that
Yeah.
surprised us in a way. But it works for an album.
Yeah, it's almost like a conceptual album in a certain
Yeah,
way. Yeah.
yeah. Only the thing is that the concept became clear after we written all the songs.
Yeah. It's funny that that happened.
Yeah.
Now you already talked about your composition process to this album, but there's one part I'm particularly curious about. You know, I would like to know how you mix the metal instruments with the folk instruments. You know, is it
Mhm.
a hard process to mix both worlds?
I don't think it's particularly hard. A lot of the times when we write songs, we already have in our mind a certain, how do you say that? Um, a certain palette of what we like to hear in it. Sometimes a song is just a rock song and doesn't need anything else but just
Mhm.
guitars, drums, and like go like that. But a lot of the times there's already an idea of how we want to flesh out a song with other kinds of sounds and instruments, and that will come out by then.
Yeah, so it all flows into the song, to the final song.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Usually they get composed almost at the same time as the rest of the song,
yeah.
and then we just have to write it down and get to the details of
Mhm.
the particular instruments. But the usually the sound is already there in our heads.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's fun that you do it that way. You know, I always thought that you would write one thing and then the other thing and then mix them both. Like,
Yeah, no, they get written with
yeah,
generally the same idea. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Also, there's one thing that in some songs of this album, like Horus, for example, you get like more of a more of a tribal vibe, tribes, than
Uh-huh.
funk vibes. Was that intended? Is that connected to the lyrics, something like that?
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, especially in the case of Uros is a very tribal theme. It is about finding the strength in yourself. When you grow up as a kid and you've got this kind of rite of passage, where you
Yeah,
have to conquer the aurochs, uh, the how do you say that? The oxen.
yeah,
Um, is kind of a metaphor of a coming of age,
yeah. Hmm.
in which you have to overcome the fears to well to show your worth and to show your you can defend yourself and
Yeah,
show who you are as a man, something like that.
yeah. Like a medieval rite, you know.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that calls for a bit of a tribal. uh
yeah.
there's pride in it, there's fear and aggression all packed together there in that song, that yeah, we needed to convey that.
Yeah, and on the other hand, there's also melody. You know, it's one of the melodies that gets stuck the most, I think, from the album.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And now you also, I think, since your first album, you also always had two singers. How do you divide your singing, into those two singers, your singing parts?
Kind of the same actually as we do with the integration of the folk instruments. When we start writing vocal lines, we immediately start thinking along the lines of the two singers.
Yeah.
There's always a higher and a lower part.
Mhm.
um Sometimes we cross them, sometimes we mix them up a little bit, sometimes we have a part where one sings, the other sings. But we always write with having two singers in mind as being one
Yeah.
instrument complementing each other.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah,
one thing
yeah,
that I think that it reminds me is that sometimes in some songs, your two singers like working together, you and your other singer, reminds me of the traditional Mongol singing. You know, when one singer sings the two things. Kind of reminds me that. Were you aiming for that?
Oh, you mean the like the one voice with two lines,
Yeah, yeah,
that technique.
yeah. Yeah, in
Well, I
this
wish I
case,
could
it's
do
like
that.
two voices
Hmm.
with one line, but but it kind of reminds me the that thing.
Well, I can kind of imagine that, yeah. But we always strive to make two voices sound as one instrument, but still be very
Hmm.
individual in
Yeah.
sound. So yeah,
Hmm.
in that case, it's not one throat singing two lines, but it's
Hmm.
two throats singing two lines that complement each
Yeah.
other. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sounds really good, I think. Um,
Thank
and what about yourself, your vocal performance? Did you
you. Mhm.
adopt any new technique to this album?
Well, I went into the recording process and I asked Joost van den Broek, who was the producer for the
Hmm.
album, and I told him, okay, let's get everything out of me that you can possibly get out of me. Don't be nice to me. Uh, let's find where my limits are.
Yeah.
Well, I should have been careful what I wished for. Because not only there was very little tweaking done. When something wasn't right, we just
Mhm.
did it again and again and again and again. There was absolutely no tuning. There was no editing as such. I mean, of course,
Yeah.
you make some edits, some cuts, but everything that you hear is sung. There's no electronics coming in between that. And not only that, but we decided to record both vocals at the same time. Every
That had to
track
be a
was
challenge.
sung by us both at the same time. So if one mucks up, the other one has to do it again as well.
Yeah.
Because we were in the same room, and we did that because we found out that when we worked like that, we could kind of bounce off of each other energy wise.
Yeah.
It was a different feel that in when you're recording by yourself in a vocal booth, it gives a different feeling than if you're doing it, on the spot, the two of you straight
Yeah.
together, like that. And we really wanted to do that, and it worked very well. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the way we did it, and it's a hard process to record vocals like that,
Yeah.
because you have to repeat time and time again if something goes wrong. But it was very much worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. And are you planning on repeating that on the next albums?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to do it for us at least. Yeah.
Yeah, it is since you have so much funk and tribal influences. I think that fits you perfectly. And plus,
Oh yeah.
it's a benefit for live shows. You have more chemistry already.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get that now with the rehearsals for the live shows that are coming up. Immediately we feel that our timing is already in place because we've been
Yeah,
recording it like that. Our timing is in place. We can rely on what we already did in the studio and just translate that to what we're going to do live. And yeah,
yeah,
that's a real benefit.
yeah. Now, also about the not about singing, but what you are singing. Again, this is another album on which you sing only your songs in Dutch. Why do you prefer to sing in your mother tongue?
The thing with singing in your mother tongue is that it gets you just that bit more close to your feelings.
Yeah.
It's something you grew up with. It's usually the language that you think of. It's the language that you wake up
Hmm.
in. So it's a little bit more close to your soul straight away. I
Yeah.
mean, even we use a lot of English nowadays, in our day-to-day lives,
Yeah.
obviously. But singing in your mother tongue gives you that extra closeness to
Hmm.
the material that you're singing. Also, it's what Heidevolk has always done. We were
Yeah.
based
There was
singing in
only one
Dutch.
song. There was only one song in your last album. That was "Wolf in My Heart." I think that was
Hmm.
in English. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
an
yeah.
experience.
Well, it was because of that. That song was actually written in English because it was fitting to the story. it was sung from the perspective of the English. So
Oh,
Rowan
okay.
wrote the
Yeah.
song actually in English, and then we made a Dutch translation in the studio afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought that was just something he did like for, commercial reasons or, because it was also a single.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
I can let you in a little secret is that on the physical copy of Vedekir, there's going to be two other songs that are
Yeah.
translated into English.
Oh, and that was the process
So,
to recording them.
sorry?
How was the process to recording them? Was it like the same, like
Oh
you two
yeah,
singing at the
absolutely.
same time? Yeah.
We did exactly the same.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
it's like
absolutely.
the lyrics, were they just like translated or adapted
Yeah.
into English?
Oh, well, we did try to make a translation that was both linguistically correct, but
Yeah.
also musically correct. So
Yeah.
basically, you are rewriting the lyrics in a different
Hmm.
language, still,
Yeah. So
speaking to the
adapting them.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Uh,
can you can you can use Google Translate, but what comes out of that is really bad.
it usually is. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Uh, Now, one thing that is also curious is that to this album, your lineups had some changes. What caused those changes?
Um, personal lives got in the way.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's a good thing to say. We've always been a band that were not able to make a living out of the band,
Mhm.
and so we all have our day jobs besides it. And
Yeah.
sometimes, stuff happens in life um, where you need to make some hard decisions. And in this case as well, that's what sparked some of the changes again.
Yeah. And how was the process to choosing the new members?
Auditioning is not my favorite business, I can tell you that. I mean, besides writing the album, having to deal with the whole COVID thing, and then having to organize auditions for Daniel for a new singer, in this case,
Mhm.
um, that was a bit of a challenge. I mean, you don't only have to find a singer that is capable of singing the material, but you also
Yeah.
have to find a person that fits the band.
Yeah.
It needs to tick all the boxes. So that's
Yeah.
really not that easy. But yeah, I think we managed to find a very good companion for the band.
Yeah, and especially when you have two singers, like it's your case, it's like having two guitar players. It's
Yeah,
really hard. Yeah.
absolutely. And then with the added difficulty of finding a vocalist that is a low voice,
Yeah.
and that's a clean voice,
It's
and
I,
also comfortable in singing in Dutch.
yeah, but in the end, I think you made the right choice.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, we're very glad we have him on board.
yeah, and they all had the chance to participate in the writing process to this album.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Daniel came in late in the process, I think, but we gave him enough space to, be able to inject a bit of himself into the songs as well. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, it's Heidevolk has always been a band where you can make a living out of it, and maybe that's the reason why there's not a remaining member from the ones that founded the band. Like the oldest one, I think, is Rowan, and he only
Yeah,
played in the second album, right?
yeah, klopt. That is correct. Rowan was there from the very early beginnings when he was one of the singers in the choir.
Yeah.
Um, and now he is the longest surviving member of the band. Indeed, yeah.
Yeah, and is it hard for you to continue the path of Heidevolk since you weren't there in the beginning?
Well, it's not hard, but it's a process. It's a progression. Um, it's usually not that like half of the members disappear at once. There's always like
Yeah.
one person going and being replaced by another one. getting into the whole concept, getting into the story, and then maybe another one leaves, and it gets back into the story, the new one, and thus it's more like a gradual change, maybe, but it's always based in what Heidevolk always was.
Yeah, yeah. Now, which are your touring plans for this album?
Sorry again.
Which are your touring plans for this album? To play shows.
Well, the whole touring world is also starting up back up again, and
Yeah.
it's taking some time. But we have some after the release dates that we have planned. We have some summer festivals we're going to
Yeah.
do. We're going to play the big Graspop festival, for instance, and we have some festivals in Spain, Italy, Germany, some
Mhm.
other places. And then
Yeah.
we plan on making a tour at the end of 2023 that is going to, and I'm not going to say that
Well,
because we're not sure yet, actually.
yeah, and is Portugal on your plans? Because a show in Portugal would be great.
I hope it is. I hope it is. But as of now, there's so much loose ends that we really can't make any promises yet. But
Yeah,
we'll let you know as soon as possible. Absolutely.
yeah. But if the chance comes, don't waste it.
Oh no, absolutely. Absolutely, we like to come back to Portugal. Absolutely.
Yeah, and when were you here? On which tour?
Oh, damn, you're asking me years and dates. This is not my strong point. I know we've been there before, but I can't tell
Yeah,
you
but
which
what
tour
kind
it
of
was.
memories do you have?
Um,
Like anything that happened that shouldn't have happened, or a fun story that you have from Portugal?
I think the thing that I remember from being in Portugal was that we were there way too short. I think it was only like one show or something like that. So
Yeah,
the problem is if you're only that short in a country, you don't get to see much of it.
yeah,
And that's always a shame because I like to meet a country properly, and the people that live there properly. But
yeah.
if you're there just for such a short time, it's really
It's
hard
hard.
to make a connection. Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, one other reason why we'd like to get back.
Well, don't hesitate to come. I would love to see you here. Uh,
Absolutely. Likewise.
Now, as you just said a little bit ago, you all have daytime jobs, and I think that you are a pipe organ builder, right?
Yes, I'm also a pipe organ builder. Yes.
Y- Yeah. How did that idea came to your mind, or
It's
any
always been a
ancestry?
Oh, that's cool. It's always been a love of me from childhood on, actually, for the instrument.
Yeah.
I wasn't brought up religiously, so for me, the pipe organ wasn't really connected to a church.
Yeah.
Um, but I was always amazed by the nature of the instrument being like an acoustical instrument, but also,
Mhm.
there's so much mechanics going on in there, and that's, another love of mine is technology. So, it's like this perfect combination of music and technology all bundled up into
Yeah.
something that's also artisan, like something that's so old already. Um,
Yeah,
and
so
yeah,
there
that's
wasn't
just
there
very
wasn't
exciting.
any older sister of yours or your father or your grandfather that used to do it, and then you're continuing the legacy.
No, actually not.
No.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I come from a musical family with parents and siblings that are all musicians, but none of them actually
Mhm.
were organists. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I picked that up as well, it started off as a hobby, and it became a little
Yeah.
bit more as a hobby. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish you all the best in that. And apart from Heidevolk, I think you aren't in any other band at the moment. Are
No, no,
you
no.
are you planning on having another project, or something like that?
Well, I like to contribute some stuff into other people's projects. I'm also very much into more traditional folk music,
Yeah.
and I like to, if asked, uh, contribute a little bit to that. But I am not really planning on having a like a rock or a metal project besides what I do at Heidevolk because
Yeah.
time wise.
Yeah. Well, Jacco, I think that's it. Thank you so much. It was an honor. Would you like to send
Sure.
any message to your Portuguese fans?
Well, when we're there, make sure you show up because we would like to see all of you back in 2023 at live shows because we couldn't for so long and we miss you guys. So let's meet up.
All right. Thank you so much, Jacco. It was an honor.